Hello YouTube, and welcome back to the Cassidy Car Cave. Well, the Cassidy house. Today we're going to talk about this 95 E320 Cabriolet, right after this. Okay, so today we're going to talk about this 95 E320 Cabriolet, the W124 Mercedes chassis, and why I think this is such a fantastic car. Now, these cars were only built a couple of years. They started in 1993 as the E300, and they were built for 2 years with that engine. And then at the very end in 95, they were the E320. Slightly different displacement, but much better timing, fuel injection, ignition system. Everything was much more modern in the E320 engine. And that engine actually survived quite a long time in Mercedes cars, particularly in the E-Class. But this one, last year it was made, and really a cool car. Okay, so bear with me here because you're gonna laugh at me maybe, but I think these cars compare favorably with the Rolls-Royce Corniche. The reason I say that is these were really hand-built Mercedes. You're going to see why I say that here in a little bit when we walk around the car. But this car literally was the last of the hand-built Mercedes, particularly the Cabriolets. They were sent off to a different company outside of Mercedes to have the top done, and it was really well done. It is not just a car they hacked the top off of and threw some vinyl on. It is a very well-built convertible. So let's do a walk around. We'll talk about the features I like of the car and sort of explain why I think they're special. So we'll start with the front right. Very classic Mercedes facade. You got the three-pointed star hood emblem looking very prominent. Gotta love a hood emblem in a classic car, right? Everything about these cars is so smooth and so well done. The lines are very solid. Nothing over the top, no crazy spoilers, no fins, nothing to make it look like it's dated. Matter of fact, this car's staring down 30 years old, and it really still looks very nice. I get a lot of compliments on this car when I just have it out, you know, going for a drive down the road. This car turns a lot of heads. Okay, so one of the reasons why these cars are so cool is because you just don't see that many of them going down the road. There's a few left still. Most of them have pretty low miles on it. This one has 97,000, which actually is kind of up there. But these were only made for a couple of years. You know, 3 years they made this two-door convertible E-Series Mercedes. Basically, it's the 300 CE with a top that's been removed, and then the car re-engineered to make it much more sturdy and rigid to support that top not being there. So there's not that many of these cars on the road. When you drive down, you're not going to see one of these every day. And they really have stood the test of time as far as looks. I think that if someone wanted to buy a mid-90s car with maybe the best chance of going up in value, certainly a Mercedes, it would be this car. The SLs, they built too many of, you know, and they're not ever going to be worth a whole lot of money. But these were reasonably low in production, and they will, I think, one day go up in value. You know, they were expensive to begin with. This was not a cheap car. They were in the mid-80s in 95 when these cars were made. So let's talk about these cars being hand-built. On this car, the paint is still original. So there's two spots right here. Hope you can see that. And right here on the car. And so on this particular model, in the 95, I haven't seen another one like this, but on this one, the two marks on the car there are signatures. One from the person that put the body together, and one from the person that put the engine and the drivetrain together. So really a cool feature. Someone's going to take a lot of pride if they're going to put their stamp on it, literally, and send it off to a foreign country. So this one's been pretty well taken care of. I've had it maybe 6-8 years. I put probably 10,000 miles on it. I've rebuilt the transmission, not myself, I sent it off to be rebuilt. You know, oil changes, that sort of thing. And there's a couple of projects that we're gonna do on this car in the car cave, and we'll talk about how all that works. But yeah, it's a really cool car. So let's do the fun part. Let's take this convertible for a cruise. It's hot today in Nashville, but not too impossibly hot. Come on. Okay, we're in the car, we're in a convertible. Sunglasses are a must. You may notice I look a little different today. I just came from my day job. So I'm sure it won't take too much for you guys to figure out what my day job is, but obviously we're going to get dirty working on this car later. All right, let's go for a little drive. So the first thing, we're going to fire this thing up. Super smooth 6-cylinder, right? Just comes to life. The car is rock solid. No vibrations, no weird, shimmies, nothing like that. Just really a joy to drive. Very, very solid is how I would describe these cars. And really the E-Series chassis from this era in general, such a well-built car. There's millions of them still bouncing around. Everything about these cars is just silky smooth. Now, there's nothing fast about these cars. That was intentional. They were not trying to compete with, I don't know what, a BMW from this area, the 3 Series Convertible. No, this was more of the, luxury cruiser for the well-to-do set. This wasn't your brother's car. This was your grandfather's car, quite frankly. And a lot of them have survived, and they're just really becoming viable collector cars nowadays. They're just so smooth and well put together. I'm going to intentionally bounce over this little speed hump here in my neighborhood, and it just eats it up. You can actually hear the gas shocks compressing and going in and out. It's just that true analog feel from the cars in this era that you really aren't going to get with an airmatic or a hydraulic suspension or the dreaded ABC suspension from the other Mercedes. No, this is all just sway bars and bushings and really well put together trailing arms, gas shock absorbers, and most importantly, tires, right? These aren't low profile tires. We're not trying to be sporty here. No one's going to take this car around a corner. These tires are fat. They're part of the suspension system. They're there to give you cushion. And same with the seats. Look at these seats. There's nothing about that seat that says sport. There's no adjustable bolsters. If you take this thing sideways around a curve, you're going to go sliding out the door. No, no, no. This is meant just to comfort you, and these seats are incredibly comfortable. So many different adjustments and ways to make it even more so if you aren't happy with the way it currently feels. Almost 30 years later, the turn signal switch still feels solid. Everything is just very well put together in these cars. Mercedes meant for this car to last. Even Mercedes doesn't build cars like this anymore because they don't want them to last. They want you to go buy the new model every 5 years, 3 years. But these cars are just wonderful. You can cruise down the road with the top down and still have a conversation. A lot of these things are true with the other cars, especially the SL500 I recently reviewed and is about to be for sale on Cars and Bids. But that car will jar you a little. This car is never going to jar you. It just kind of floats and wafts down the road. It doesn't have a firm ride. It's got a soft ride. It's just fantastic for cruising around the city. All right, let's pull over here. All right, so all these cars have convertible tops, right? And of course it's electric. You're not gonna have a manual top in a car like this. But this top is different. Very simple, one button, no safety features. If you put your hand in front of it, it's gonna lop your hand off. But very smooth operation, hydraulic, so it has a very simple, easy, nice, smooth rhythm to it. It's not bouncing around. Top goes right up. And all you have to do, pull it down, latch it in, all from the driver's seat. So what I mean by this being such a special top, though, is look at the headliner in this. This is not just, a piece of cheap material that they put across there. This has insulation in it. It's multiple layers. When you put the windows up and the air conditioning on in this car and cruise down the road, it feels very much like a hardtop. So even in '95, everything that could be done was done to make this car smooth, quiet, comfortable, even with the top up. Let's put it back down because, quite frankly, that's where this car shines. You're not going to drive this car when it's raining, right? You're not going to drive this car if it's crummy out, and you know, it's not that kind of car you're going to drive your SUV when it's that day. But when it's nice out, 75 degrees, and you want to go for a cruise, boy, you can put 4 people, 4 adult humans in this car comfortably, take them down the road. And this is where you're going to start laughing at me when I start talking about this versus the Corniche. Because I know it's not a Rolls-Royce. You're not going to get that kind of recognition or panache with this Mercedes. But what you will get is a very similar ride, a very similar quality level, a very similar overall feel, and a car that when you just want to go down the road and cruise and enjoy it, this is the car for you. The transmissions in these are very analog. There's no, you know, ability to shift this automatic yourself. It's an automatic. They wouldn't even have thought about that in 95. But it does shift very smoothly. You won't barely even feel it shift. And it just adds to the overall experience in the car. The engine is not a super powerful engine, but it's got plenty of power to get you off a red light and merge into traffic and that sort of thing. And it's very quiet. There's no stainless steel exhaust on this car or any effort to make it sporty at all. I think it really does compare very well to a Corniche. And it's not going to kill you on maintenance the way a Corniche will. You know, you're not going to wake up one morning and be bathed in mineral oil because one of the 8,000 hydraulic lines in the Corniche burst. You know, this one is very much a mid-range Mercedes underneath. The top is fairly complicated in that it is a hydraulic top, but it doesn't have all the crazy, you know, mechanical fuel injection that's not going to work, and even worse, carbureted engines that won't ever give you reliable performance. This is fuel injected. You can actually still hook up a Mercedes diagnostic to this car, and it'll tell you what's wrong with it. So it's a great car, and it gives you a lot of that same big convertible feel, right? Like there's some American convertibles maybe that you could do in this era, but there's no other foreign convertibles in this price range. I have a BMW convertible from 1990, and it's not a car like this. It does a lot of its own things very well, but it doesn't cruise and absorb the bumps and give you the comfort level that this does. So laugh if you want, rip me in the comments, but I say this is a better Corniche. And it also has about the same amount of rarity. There's just not that many of these cars left, and they're becoming even more rare. So fit and finish wise, the interior is beautiful. You know, you get a lot of real wood from this era. I put this on the steering wheel, so don't laugh at that too much. I know it's not supposed to be there. But the wood that's there is good. The 30 years in almost, the dashboard's not all cracked, everything works. It's a very nice car. And for the money that you'll get in this car, you know, now we're talking miles per dollar, right? So what? This car's worth 10,000 maybe, you know, somewhere in that ballpark. You could go to 15 if you wanted to get one that was super low miles. But, you know, 10 grand's going to get you into one of these Mercedes convertibles. You're not going to run into one every time you take it out. It's going to be fun. A lot of people are going to give you the thumbs up and like what you're looking at, and you got $10,000 in it. And maybe the best part of a car like this is it's worth $10,000 now. It's probably always going to be worth $10,000. You know, as long as you take care of it. This car's not going to depreciate much more. If it rusts out or you just abuse it, of course it's going to go down. But if you drive this car 4,000 or 5,000 miles a year, you know, take decent care of it, give it a bath once a year, make sure the oil's changed, this car's always going to be worth $10,000. You buy a $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 Corniche, I can guarantee you, not really, but I would think in 5 years that Corniche is going to be worth half of what it's worth now. And there's really nothing else out there that I can think of that compares with this. I guess you could say maybe a Jaguar, but the XKs from the, you know, early 2000s, that's more of a sports car, and you know, it's a piece of junk. It's a 4-liter Jaguar with a terrible electrical system and horrid mechanics. This car you can let sit for a month, 6 weeks, come back to it, and fire it up and go for a drive. So there it is. That's my 2 cents why I think these are great cars. Let's pull up to the house here. We're going to do a quick walk around. Got a couple of projects I'm going to document with this car, and then we're going to sell it. We're going to sell this car in Cars and Bids. One project that I'm not going to do, but somebody is the windshield's cracked. And that's really a bummer because this is the original windshield, and I'm never going to get one that, you know, has the Mercedes markings on it from this era. But significant crack, it's going to have to be replaced. The other thing is there's a couple of things on the body. Right up here, there's a scuff. That'll come off very easily. But on the bottom there, the plastic has kind of got this weird amoeba formation going on with it. And I think it's just where some bad Armor All was put on it once upon a time. And I think it can be brought back and fixed pretty good, but it's on both sides on that body skirt down below. So we're going to take a look at that and see what we can do to fix that. The Hirschman antenna is not working, unfortunately. That's going to be an expensive fix, believe it or not. Be an easy fix, but it'll be expensive to get the correct antenna put back on there. And other than that, the only mechanical issues are I'm going to put some brake pads on it, and it needs a new AC compressor. It works, but it makes a ton of noise. So we need to repair that. So that's the plan. We're going to document a couple of videos fixing it up, and then put it on Cars and Bids and let it go for no reserve. I would like to actually get a buy it now price on Cars and Bids that would be very, very low and start selling some cars that way. I've reached out to Cars and Bids and see if they would offer such a thing, and they're supposed to get back to me. So we'll see. My thought would be to take the car to CarMax and get the CarMax appraisal on it, and then put the cars that I do on Cassidy Car Cave on Cars and Bids, but with a buy it now price for the CarMax wholesale purchase price, which is usually about 20% less than wholesale. So I don't know, look for something like that going on, but that's my thought with this car is we may try this as the first way to do that little experiment. All right, thanks for visiting Cassidy Car Cave and Cassidy Home. We'll be back to more appropriate clothes next time. See ya. The overall feel of the car. Seriously. GoPro, stop video. GoPro, stop video.